Hail to legal warriors. Are you being monitored if you have a no contact order against you in a criminal case in Washington State? If you're interested in that area of the law, stay tuned. This is the video for you. My name is Attorney Lance Fryrear. I'm a defense attorney in Linwood, Washington. My law firm's been defending people charged with crimes all throughout Washington State for more than 20 years, and I'm putting out these videos to help educate the public. So if you find this useful, please like and please subscribe. More people will get to see it. More people will get the help they need. Now, as always, I'm just going to jump right into it. This premise of this question is based upon a lot of questions that we get from people calling us. And we sort of have to describe the background first about what I'm talking about or what I'm not. So we often get a question, hey, there's a no contact order against me. Am I being monitored? Am I being followed? How will the government or somebody know if I end up violating the no contact order? And it doesn't necessarily mean someone is intending to. Sometimes they might be intending to violate the order. But people are really paranoid and curious if you know nothing about the system, about, hey, the court issued no contact. Aren't they going to follow me around? Aren't they going to subpoena my phone records? Are they going to come and see where I'm living? Are the police going to follow me? Things like that. And happily, at least in Washington State, almost always, the answer is no to those questions. There won't be any monitoring about whether or not a no contact order is being broken. In other words, no one affirmatively going out and trying to find out if the order is being broken. In my 30 years of doing this, I've never seen while the case is active, at least a subpoena for any type of cell phone records to show violations. It could happen. It's possible to happen, but the system is just so busy, it's not typically what you're going to see. I've never seen, a concerted case where we've got, multiple law enforcement officers, following someone around to see what they're doing. The system is just so busy that it's not typically monitored by the government. And there is a lot of examples I'll go into about some exceptions to that, things that I've seen over the years and things that would be just educational to know about, especially if you're in this situation. But one exception to that, just a pure exception, is some courts nowadays will actually monitor the location of yourself. Occasionally we can see a court order in a no contact order GPS monitoring. So we can imagine as the technology gets better, and of course our rights get less and less, right? Out there, at least individual freedoms seem to get less and less. This person who's presumed innocent of violating a no contact order can be ordered at an arraignment or as a condition of pretrial release to wear something that shows the government where they're at all times. Then they will set up boundaries. Hey, if they get within 1,000 feet of the alleged victim's residence, they get a notice of that. And they can check it and see where you've been. And it's pretty invasive. And of course, if we're making an argument for protecting the person who has a no contact order, it makes sense, right? That's why the legislature has allowed that. The part sometimes that I have a hard time with is, supposedly presumed innocent, which is a joke, because of course we're not presumed innocent. All types of liberties and things are restricted on criminal defendants, and why they say we're presumed innocent. It's not really how I see people being treated, but that's one thing where, of course, they will monitor things. Now, I said I'd get into some special cases I've seen in my 30 years. You can find a case where an officer is particularly interested in the case, right? I might have my own reasons. Maybe they sort of have a crush on the victim or reminds them of their mother or something, or they just particularly are very concerned about whoever the alleged victim is, and maybe they'll go by and check and say, hey, is the defendant living there, right? They might go by and check, but that would be on their own. That would be a one-off, and it's not something we would expect in every case. Additionally, we can have good Samaritans, right, who don't like the defendant. The good Samaritan, the neighbor who's always hated the defendant, was there when the arrest happened. They're savvy. They know there's likely a no contact order. They see the defendant come by for an invited violation, right? Maybe the alleged victim wants the defendant living there. That happens a lot. And that neighbor calls the police, right? They call the police, and now all of a sudden, so that wasn't monitoring by the government, it's monitoring by that neighbor, right, who doesn't like the defendant. I've also seen it for coworkers, right? coworkers are really upset that their coworker has been the victim of something, and then there's an invited contact where the alleged victim invites the defendant in this hypothetical, and some coworker sees that, and the coworker calls the police, and now they get arrested. So what's the moral of the story? We don't violate no contact orders, right? This is not a video about how to violate no contact orders, but it is educational because people feel so worried that they're being monitored, right? That Big Brother's looking out after them. And for these misdemeanor level no contact orders and even felony ones that I've seen in Washington State, that's simply not the case. One more exception, jail calls. Jail calls can be monitored and are monitored by the government. Now, I can tell you there's going to be tens, if not hundreds, of violations of orders on jail calls that never get discovered, because, of course, unless it gets to a trial, most of the time prosecutors aren't listening to jail calls. Some of the more advanced systems will be able to put in a phone number and, hey, if the defendant calls this number, that person's protected and they could get flagged to someone to review later. I have seen cases where the government pulls jail calls, finds violations of no contact orders on the jail calls, and then charges those charges or threatens those charges to extort and force a plea out of the underlying case. Again, moral of the story, don't do this. Don't violate no contact orders. And I think the most common gotcha for people will be traveling in the same vehicle together. If you happen to have a no contact order against you, it's going to go into the law enforcement database. It's going to go in the database under two names, the name of the restrained party and the name of the protected party. And so let's say it's a typical man-woman situation. The man's restrained, the woman is protected. That's probably the most common. At any time that man is contacted by law enforcement or a government agent serving in that type of capacity, like let's say a border agent, if you're flying back into the country or coming back into the country from Canada, those are sort of like law enforcement people. If a man is traveling with a woman and the man is restrained, they're always going to check and see, is that person traveling with you the protected party? Plenty of cases I've had in this office with people crossing the border with the protected party, of course, invited, right? They're traveling together because the protected party wants to, but that's not allowed because the court says no contact, and people get arrested at the border. Or you're just driving down to the local pizza shop together, and the defendant's thinking, no big deal, the protected party wants me to go get pizza, get pulled over for speeding. What's your name, ma'am? This is my name. Guy gets arrested, or whoever it is. This isn't hypothetical, that's the one I'm talking about now. So traveling domestically, I haven't typically seen any case where they're checking on names. Again, I'm not telling you to travel domestically with in violation of an order, but it's not the same type of law enforcement type deal when you're traveling domestically. They're checking for security, right? For whether or not you have, explosives or things on you like that. They're not checking to see if you're safe to come in the country. And so it's a different, at least for Washington State, from what I've seen for 30 years, it's a different type of check. Again, it's not legal advice. It's just what I've seen from doing this for 3 decades. So I hope you found this helpful. If so, please like and subscribe. Again, please obey orders, but if you get caught in a problem, or if you're charged with a crime and you need legal help, you can feel free to give my office a call. If we get on board, we'll listen to what happened, we'll identify a way forward, and we will be there for you. Thank you.